The South African Police Service has issued a warning that the sale of cannabis is still illegal, if not specifically allowed under the Medicines and Related Substances Act. In a statement, the SAPS says that some of these illegal businesses claiming to be operating legally in terms of Traditional Health Practitioners Act of 2007 are also being sold to members of the public as franchises authorised to deal in cannabis and cannabis-related products. Well, to further discuss this, I'm now joined on the line by the SAPS's national spokesperson, Brigadier Vishnu Naidoo. Vish, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the programme. Let's start with that Constitutional Court ruling. Does it look like the public have misunderstood its terms, or do you think people are just doing it on purpose?
Very good afternoon to you, Peter, and thank you for this opportunity. It could be one or both, or it could be one of the two or both. We want to believe that maybe they misunderstood the judge's ruling. But I think that the judge's ruling was so clear that one could never have really misunderstood or misinterpreted the fact that one was allowed to use cannabis or is allowed to use cannabis for his personal use in his private space as opposed to dealing. Nowhere did the judge pronounce on people being allowed to deal in cannabis. So the dealing in cannabis in whatever way, whether it's cannabis or cannabis-related products, still remains an offense, and we're finding more and more people continue to deal in cannabis. Hence, we decided we're going to put out a statement issuing a stern warning that the establishment of illegal dispensaries, outlets, online sites, and social media platforms which are marketing and selling cannabis and cannabis-related products remains illegal.
All right, so dealing, by definition, is when you grow this product and sell it to any third party for reward.
Yeah, well, basically that's what dealing entails. And, in some places they say even cultivating cannabis, but there is a slight relaxation there when it comes to cultivating cannabis, rather, where a person would be allowed to cultivate cannabis provided it's for his personal use in his private space and it's not done in the presence of consenting adults, in presence of kids, or in the open public. Then the person would be acting within the confines of the law.
All right. Can I give cannabis to friends? Let's say I'm at a party and there's 20 of us and I give everybody cannabis biscuits. Is that allowed?
No, you're not really allowed to do that because you're promoting it. It technically can be, I suppose it's something that would need to be tested in court because, as you said, dealing would be to offer the product, in exchange for some or other reward. But in this case, you are promoting it. And if somebody advertises or promotes online on social media platforms, that will also constitute an offense in terms of the Medicines and Related Substances Act, as well as the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act, and so forth. So even the Traditional Health Practitioners Act can come into play there, depending on what the actual acts or activities are by an individual. So I suppose that what you've just highlighted now as an example is something that also needs to be tested in the court of law.
All right. So let's talk about this Traditional Health Practitioners Act. So what you're saying is, under no circumstances does this act allow any traditional healer to offer cannabis as a remedy for an ailment and get paid for it?
Yes, it's quite clear that the Traditional Health Practitioners Act does not create a mechanism to sell cannabis or any cannabis-related products that are not exempted in terms of the Medicines Act. So if it's exempted in terms of the Medicine Act, then maybe a traditional health practitioner may, in terms of the Health Practitioners Act, be able to sell cannabis or cannabis-related products.
All right, so let's go once again to this these restrictions. You've got to be over 18. It has to be in private, so you can't do it in a public space. And also, if there are adults around you, there must be consenting. So before, let's say I'm at a party, it's in the back garden of someone, and before I light up, I must get permission from everybody that's there to carry on smoking the cannabis.
Yes, indeed. You must get permission. If there's 10 people and one of the 10 is not consented to that, then the person who's consuming that cannabis or cannabis-related product can be deemed to be committing an offense.
All right, so the law is clear, but Vish, can you honestly enforce? I mean, if we can think about just how many people across the country, will you be able to cope with people that perhaps are breaking this law, not realizing fully that they're breaking the law, and not really dealing in heavy loads of this drug?
Well, Tony, the fact of the matter is we already started enforcing the law as a result of the growing number of arrests, the growing number of detection of these dispensaries and outlets and so forth is what prompted us now to issue the statement to tell people you're warned. You might get away with it for a while, but there'll be a time when we will be informed or we will find out that the people are actually dealing, or they have these dispensaries or outlets, and they've established online sites and marketing on the social media platforms. Then we'll have to enforce the law. That's what our job is. And we have, in the last paragraph of our statement, urged people to come forward, give us information, and those people that we've arrested already, it was purely through information that we've been receiving from the public, because parents are growing concerned about the fact that their children are being lured into buying, especially cannabis-related products, stuff that they could eat, stuff that they could apply on their skin, and things like that. And that's why when that information comes through, we are compelled to respond and act on that information.
Brigadier Vishnu Naidoo, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much indeed. That's the national spokesperson of the South African Police Service. And Palesa, so you've got to be 18.
Okay.
You cannot do it in public.
All right.
And if you smoke in private and there are other adults there, you've got to ask their permission.
Then what's the definition of being in your private space?
Well, at home probably.
All
but
right.
in a
if
private
you've got people in your house.
But as soon as there's another adult there, you must say, Palesa, can I smoke? And if you say no, that's it. I'm breaking the law.
Interesting, isn't it?
All right. So be warned. You cannot buy and sell. And if you buy, you actually could be prosecuted as well.